Fellas,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
welcome to the Hivemind Radio Recap.
2021, baby. Yes,
Except we're
sir.
still talking about 2020, baby.
We're almost out. We're almost out, guys. Come on.
We're almost done. We're almost done. I mean, not like 2021 has been off to as great of a start. Let's move on. Let's move on. So before we move on to the new music 2021 has to offer, we have one more month of 2020 we have to talk about, and that would be the month of December. So yeah, this is our December recap. We got a lot of new music to talk about, a lot of good music to talk about. In fact, I would argue, I think I mentioned this in the November recap, but that was like many a week ago at this point that I don't even remember.
Yeah.
But I think December 4th was like a top 3 release date of the entire year.
Yeah.
In terms of new music that came out. We'll get to that pretty quickly,
Also,
actually.
To preface some of our explanations and our reactions, we're recording this after we did the bonus episodes.
Yes,
So a lot of what we've already talked about may be repeating ourselves from those episodes. Go watch back those episodes to get like our first impressions, and then come back and listen to our after they settled a little bit, I guess. Right.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe even like more detailed impressions. Because like for that, you're really trying to sell it as like, why it made it where it did.
Oh, yeah.
And then this one, it's like, let's give it a review.
So to take out the elephant in the room, there is material we're talking about from December that made our awards episodes of our top songs, top EPs, etc., etc.
Yes.
We're going to try and avoid mentioning it explicitly. But thanks for listening if you're here, live or later on. This is available on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, etc., etc. Be sure to follow on social media at Hivemind Radio _ on Instagram and Twitter. And without any further ado, I guess we can get started talking about some music in December. I don't know if I want to get started with the first single. If there's anything else you guys want to mention before we get into that, because we are.
I got nothing.
If there's anything else you want to introduce this episode with,
I'm ready to talk about some music. As long as Jacob's okay with it.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
We gotta escape 2020 somehow.
Yeah,
exactly. We're
full
laying
speed
it to
ahead.
rest.
Full speed ahead. So yeah, let's get started. We have a streak of banger singles to start off this month with. Starting off with none other than Architects and their new song Black Lungs.
Architects finally releasing material that I like.
Same.
Yeah, this and Animals, I feel like are not necessarily their two like most technical or like objectively best songs, but I enjoy this style of Architects with like older Architects influences way more than I enjoy a lot of their older material, which seems to be held in like very high esteem by a lot of like the metalcore community or whatever. I've just never been able to get into them until now.
Like, I almost feel like I should go back and re-listen to Holy Hell to be like, am I just like, was this band always this good? Or like, I don't know. Because like really Doomsday is the only song off of Holy Hell that I even remember. It's the only one in my playlist at the very least, but...
Was it a vocalist change?
No.
Nope.
It's literally just one album to the next, and this is like... I feel like there's just something in my head that, like, I don't know, it just feels wrong to be like, I liked 1 out of 10 songs on their previous album, and now they're releasing 2 just absolutely incredible songs and are potentially in contention for a top 10 album of 2021 for me.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's also a confusing thing. It's also a confusing thing, like, because it's very weird. You see heavy go to soft. You normally see like post-hardcore go into heavy.
Really? I think I see it the other way.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say a lot of metalcore bands have gone soft recently.
Yeah, I normally say it go post-hardcore to heavy, more so than heavy go to post-hardcore.
Well, I guess a lot of it is that they've technically, I guess, gone softer, but they've done it in a way that feels like they're switching from one genre of metal to the other. Like, this feels less like metalcore and more like metalcore meets industrial metal, as opposed to something like a Wage War, which toned down their metalcore aspects to seem more like a mainstream rock band, like a serious Octane band. Same sort of thing in some aspects with like Fit for a King, right? Because a lot of that material was more in the vein of like a Parkway Drive sort of metal, as opposed to this, which feels like it's more blending styles of metal than transitioning from one to the other, which I feel like is what makes it so successful. Because I feel like they haven't really abandoned a lot of what made the band special. They've kind of just readapted it and turned it into, frankly, an incredible song.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
I have been going back to this all month. It's a fantastic song. The chorus is so big. Like, it took me it took me a few listens to like fully understand the lyrics of like what the chorus is actually saying, but now like I'm just singing along to this chorus every time I listen to it.
Right, exactly.
It's just so big.
Do we think it's better than Animals?
No.
Huh. I think it is.
I think. Well, I was gonna say, go ahead.
Well, it's hard to say. They're very close, is what I would say, but I think this is a slightly better song.
I want to say they're very close. Like, both of them are amazing songs, but then I realized that Animals is probably a top 20 song of 2020 for me. And then
ask me on another day. I might say differently. It'll probably vary, but they're really close.
They're both very good for different ways, I think.
Yeah, Animals feels very like repeatable to me. I don't know. I think that this song might almost be too wordy. Like, especially before the breakdown. Like, I enjoy the build-up, but I feel like it would have been better served with something a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess bulky in terms of, like, substance or whatever. Like, 9 times out of 10, I prefer something like a bleh to Where Were You when they clipped, or the gods clipped the wings of the phoenix or whatever it is before the breakdown.
I like that, actually.
Yeah, no, I dig it. It's just, I think that Animals, in a sense, it's not like more accessible or anything, but I feel like it's an easier listen than this song is. But I mean, that's saying that in comparing to both great songs. So there's only, so it's apples to oranges, but also apples to apples. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, the song's great. I don't have too much else to add to it. Like, it's just a fantastic song, and I am really questioning, like, if I actually should have been enjoying this band more, but I feel like it's just, like, this change in style they're going for is really just clicking with me.
Yeah, you and me both.
Let's move on.
We got another, I was going to say, we got another great song up next on the docket, Fake Rich, featuring Elijah Witt, the newest single from Rivals.
So I don't feel a thing. I'm trying to fake rich. I'm trying to spend your money. I'm trying to have
this is my favorite song of December. I'm just gonna leave that out there.
Okay.
Damn.
It's a little close, but I fucking love Rivals, dude, and this song is everything and more of what I wanted. They tend to post like pretty long teaser clips on Twitter, and I went back to the teaser clip, which was the breakdown of this song, like probably at least 5 or 6 times the day before it was coming out. And then it came out and it took a completely different turn from what I expected. Because when the clip that you tease is the breakdown and the feature, and it's heavy as fuck, it's the heaviest thing that they've ever done. And then the rest of the song is like very slow. There's like almost a lack of instruments for a lot of the verses. And it was a very big contrast that I wasn't expecting. But the more I listened to it, the more I was not able to put it down. Once again, another huge chorus. And overall, I'm just in love with this song. And I think the saddest thing is, like, this is my favorite song of December, and I don't even know if I can say this is a top 3 rival song for me. Because that's just how much I love Damned Souls, but that's a point for another day, so.
They've really, like, evolved their sound a lot. Like, it's been really interesting to see how they've, I guess not evolved, expanded upon the sound that they already had going. Because beforehand, they felt like they were a very good rock band. And now it feels like they're really starting to combine those previous rock influences with things like, I guess almost in a sense, Paris in some aspects, but heavier influences. And they're combining it all into something that's creating this very distinct rival sound. That especially on this works. I think Kaylee Wolf has a bit of an edge to her. in these most recent singles, and especially this, that she didn't have before. And I think that's part of what makes it so good. How are we feeling about this Elijah Witt feature of Cane Hill?
I think it's
What
great.
is the general consensus on it?
I think it's great.
Pretty good for me.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really that high on this song.
That's my thing. Like, the thing that actually I am normally a big advocate of features and songs because I feel like they can only add more to a song, namely, I guess, topically, right? Kaylee Wolf on Punishment by Outline and Color. Like, that sends that song over the top. The Elijah Witt feature almost feels like it doesn't really fit.
It's definitely very unexpected.
Yeah, a Cane Hill Rivals Cry. If you had told me, like, if you got, like, Venn diagrams, right, and put Cane Hill on one side and Rivals on the other, I feel like those do not overlap in any sense. And sometimes that sort of collaboration works really well, like the unexpected. Like, absolutely, I'm all for it. This, to me, I guess I'm not super high on anything that, like, Cane Hill has done recently. Like, I liked their softer side. I believe it's on Kill the Sun. This kind of harder version of Elijah Witt and Cane Hill in general doesn't really do much for me. And so I feel like it almost, not that it dragged the song down because the feature itself is bad. It dragged it down because I didn't necessarily click with it as much because I feel like it didn't fit the overall vibe of the song. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's what I was kind of referencing when, like, I listened to the breakdown because that was the teaser they posted on Twitter, and then I listened to it the first time, and it's a completely different vibe from what I was expecting. When I heard that breakdown, they had been teasing for a while that, like, they were going to have a song with a breakdown on this upcoming album, and it was going to be, like, the heaviest thing they've ever done. And I was kind of expecting the rest of the song to kind of, like, kick up to that notch almost. And then it completely went mellow for the rest of the song. I still think the breakdown is great. I'm a big fan of it, but yeah, I don't know too much more to say. I think overall I've said everything I wanted to here. And once again, I'm very high on this song, very high on Rivals in general, and needless to say that it's one of my most anticipated albums of 2021. So
there's so many albums coming out this year.
In my head, you kind of paused after you said hi, so it was just like, I'm very high, and I was like, okay, Jake, I see you. Like, let's go. Bringing the vibes to the Hivemind Radio podcast.
The high
sharing.
Oh my.
That would be an interesting spin-off episode now, wouldn't it?
Yo, factual. There's the bonus content we need.
Oh no.
Something that's not super vibey is this new single from Hollow Front entitled Wearing Thin. Hollow Front not stopping after releasing, I believe, their second album, or no, it was their debut album, they had an EP beforehand, Loose Threads, early on in 2020, which was some metalcore-ass metalcore that I really enjoyed. They've put out a new single, like a couple months afterwards here, and then they posted that in the next month, so I guess February, they're going to be recording their second album already. So much like Outline and Color that we talked about before, this is a band who is putting out a lot of material and not stopping, and their monthly listener numbers have, I think, doubled since the year started.
Damn.
So they're I guess since they released the last album, we're in 2021 now. But
we've also
that said,
I also have recently signed to UNFD with this song, if I'm not mistaken.
Good pickup on UNFD's part. Yeah, they absolutely needed to be signed. How are we feeling about this?
This is my first exposure to Hollow Front. I'd never listened to that album last year. And I thought the song was all right. There's definitely moments to it that I enjoyed. I love the clean vocals that this band has. The harsher, unclean vocals, I haven't fully clicked with them yet. But overall, like, this is a solid band, and they deserve all the attention that they're getting at this point.
I was going to say... this is more memorable than most of that album to me. Like, I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the album, but like, I think this is better than most of the album, I'd say.
I guess to me, the thing that's most memorable about this band, especially on Loose Threads, was the instrumentation. Like, there are a lot of moments on that album that stood out for me, not vocally, but again, like instrumentally. This is, at least from what I'm remembering from the previous album, more cleans than the band has really implemented before. It's been a lot of majority uncleans for a lot of their material, or at least the previous album. And I don't really remember much about this single. Like, I feel like I've heard this song 80 million times on my Discover Weekly. You know, like
that's what I'm feeling about this one.
It was a good song, but nothing stood out to make me want to say, oh, you know, this moment in this song, I want to go back and listen to it. Like, for instance, what we just talked about, that Elijah Witt feature, even though I wasn't high on it, it's one of those things that I remember as that moment being something that stands out in the song. This one, what stands out for me is, oh, Hollowfront's doing more clean vocals now, but there's no individual point in the song. Yeah. No, I agree. There were a lot of strong moments on Loose Threads, but listening to it, I remember liking it a lot more than some of the material on that album. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a good direction, and I'm interested to see where this goes, especially with their next album, because I feel like I don't think that this is a standalone single. I think that this is sort of, hey, we signed UNFD, here's a new single to show you where our sound is going, considering that they have yet to finish writing or tracking the next album. So it'll be interesting to see if that next album follows this sort of style, or if they switch it up completely. And if they switch it up, I'm wondering, why did we release this in the first place? You know, like, this has to be a statement of what the sound's going to be moving forward, or else I don't know why we release it.
Unless this is a standalone single, just to like experiment.
Could be. Check the response on it, and then yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the song's been doing pretty well for them based on
they're at like 500,000 on Spotify or something like that.
It's like, I'd be surprised if they don't continue in this direction. I don't have much more to add.
So how are we feeling about this single from Captives called Glass Heart?
Maybe if I take back what you meant to me, just like you took myself.
Captives, man. They signed to Sharp Tone. And that's a really good pick. It's so good.
All these bands deserving to be picked up that are getting picked up left and right by record labels, like after they put out defining material. Like, I guess for them it would be Ghosts Like You in 2019, that EP, and then the new singles. Like, there's so much talent out there that needs, I mean, Spirit Box got signed last year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so much talent getting picked up that deserves to. It's really nice to see.
Captives are like, I feel like Captives are so much bigger than they actually are. And they're already like huge, I feel like. Like, this is their 7th song. They're already at like almost 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I'm pretty sure they broke it at some point.
It's 3,000.
Yeah, they're at 300,000.
Jesus
300,000.
Christ. Okay. Well then, I haven't checked their page. This band, I feel like, is like, they came out of nowhere and rose to the top so goddamn fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And they deserve it. Like, holy shit.
This song is incredible, yeah.
It's really good. And it's a testament for how their album that they're still working on for this year is going to be. And man, it sounds really good.
Yeah, if I get like another 9 or 10 songs that sounds like this, like, there's no way it's not making my top 10 at the end of the year. Like, it's ridiculous. There's so many good albums that are going to be coming out this year already.
Hey, but we're talking about last year.
Yeah. This is just the first single for this upcoming album that doesn't have a date.
So this song in particular, the chorus
once again,
is really good.
A huge fucking chorus. I think that's just a theme that I'm going to be reiterating a lot throughout this episode. There are so many big choruses they're like anthemic choruses that deserve to be played in a loudspeaker at a stadium. They're just like, they just get me pumped up, and this is another one of them. Matt's vocals are just incredible.
It does not stop.
It doesn't, no.
It's really good.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was about to ask what you think.
Well, I was going to say that there are a lot of bands out there where they put out a lot of good material, and I'm waiting for that great song to put them over the edge. And usually when that happens, that great song is one that ends up in my playlist. I play it a lot. It helps me expand more into like how I feel about this band. Captives is a band for me where every song is great rather than good. So they're already at that like higher tier, but I'm waiting for a fantastic song to make the rest of this band's material click for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'm listening to this and the rest of their material and I'm saying, holy shit, they sound better than like 90% of the other bands that I'm going to listen to in this same sort of vein. But none of it ever ends up being something that I see myself actively revisiting a lot. And I don't know where the disconnect is, because I think that this is one of the bands that I've enjoyed most, yet listened to the least.
I feel I feel like that's me as well. It's like I don't put it in my place. I don't know why, but
yeah, no, I listen start to finish, and I'm like, man, this is so good.
You know what? I'm gonna add it right now.
But I revisit it, and I'm like, it doesn't lose any of its like splendor, I guess would be the way to put it, but it doesn't grow on me, and I don't know why, because it's got great big, like you mentioned, big choruses, catchy melodies, like everything is here. I love this music. Why is it not clicking with me despite loving it? Like it's an anomaly to me. And I feel like that's the weirdest endorsement of Captives that I could probably give. Like, this is really good. You need to go listen to it, even though it's not clicking with me.
I really want to see them do slow, like
a ballad, like a ballad,
yeah, like a Dayseeker, like starting to be empty ballad.
Mm.
I really want to see that, and just
Matt definitely has the vocal talent to get that done.
Oh,
yeah.
easily. I'm not shocked he won't do that. I'm waiting for it.
I think the last thing I want to mention on this song here, unless you guys have anything else to add, is in the final chorus where they change up the pacing of the chorus to sync to the drum beat. God, it just sounds so nice.
They also changed up some of the lyrics, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe
in the last chorus.
Entirely.
I
just know
right
that they changed up the pacing just a bit to make it sync with the drum beat and make it just hit that much harder on a chorus that was already massive.
Yeah,
just incredible stuff from Captives. Incredible stuff. I got nothing else to add. So let's move on then. As Everything Unfolds are back with their new song called "Stranger in the Mirror."
Tainted in sorrow. The stranger in the mirror is smothering me. Coming home.
I don't know. I don't think you guys are as high on them as I am, but I am very, very quickly becoming a big fan of this band.
Yeah,
as Everything Unfolds are just a ridiculous amount of talent bundled up into one group. And this is the third single for this upcoming album, and they are all so good to the point where, like, it's almost like the issue I had with Slaves, where I just cannot rank them because they are all just equally amazing.
Yeah, there's
not on the same level as Slaves. Let me just get that clear. But
there's this interesting trend recently of, not that they weren't there before, but these great female vocalists like popping up on my radar that are able to do both cleans and uncleans and execute it perfectly. Like there's this band, Spirit Box, Conquer Divide, Lauren Babick, like those sort of artists where I'm like, where have they been?
yeah.
Like, I feel like they're so underappreciated that, you know, we see people talking about different vocalists like all the time, where it's like, oh yeah, like so-and-so vocalist from this generic ass metalcore band sounds really good. And then you've got these female vocalists who aren't being talked about, who are doing it just as good, if not better. Right? Like, this is really good.
Yeah.
Like, really, really good.
Like, you ask me any day of the week, and I'll say this is my favorite song, or then I'll say Take Me There from November is my favorite song they've released in this cycle. Like, every single song they have put out is just amazing for this album. And we're going to be talking about them next month. They have released a new song in January already. I'm not going to say anything on it yet, but As Everything Unfolds are just incredible. They have a way of blending her clean vocals into her harsher vocals so well. Just the way they're able to transition between the two styles is just, like, incredible.
Yeah.
It's so smooth. It's so clean the way that she's able to just move between the two styles, and it works so well every time.
Yeah.
Even if this is probably the softest song so far, with only like half a verse being the harsher vocals, still it just works. It's great.
Right. Yeah, mad props to everyone. I mean, we've spoke a lot of good about the instrumental, or not the instrumental. Damn, that ruins where I was going with that. We spoke a lot of good about the vocals, but like the instrumentals too. Yeah, exactly.
Instrumentals too are great.
Yeah, everything here is just so good. There's just a lot of talent that feels relatively underappreciated. Like I don't see anybody talking about these guys, and they need to.
I really hope this band gets a big signal boost when their album comes out in March, because they deserve it. Based on the trajectory they're on after Hiding From Myself, Take Me There, and now Stranger in the Mirror, this band is on an upward trajectory, and they're gonna keep going upward as far as I'm aware. So I'm very excited to see what they have in the future. Stranger in the Mirror, great song. Let's move on. Derek, you want to take this one?
Oh, yes, sir. We got a new single out from Spirit Box entitled Constance.
Derek, I think you like this one.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, man. I don't know. It was okay, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, this was a song that not only was incredible, but opened up the rest of Spirit Box to me, because I've been hearing people start to talk about this band earlier in the year. And I listened to their music and I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's good, but I'm not going to revisit it. And like this song dropped, I went back and listened to their old material, and it's like, holy shit, is Spirit Box like a top 10 band of all time? Like, I've become obsessed with this band, and I'm frankly obsessed with this song. The way that Courtney LaPlante, the lead vocalist, or I guess the only vocalist for that matter, explores more of a softer side on this, where she's normally incorporating both cleans and uncleans into songs. It's mystical, it's magical. It kind of like transports you away to another world where you can feel the music. Mm-hmm. And like the instrumentation does a great job in aiding that too, where it helps her voice, which naturally flows along anyway, it sort of helps it along. And especially like giving off, or I guess demonstrating a lot of what the vibe of the song is supposed to be. It takes you on that journey as well when it goes heavier at the end, where there's a breakdown that helps illustrate sort of like the mental dissonance and the falling apart that's supposed to be conveyed by the song. Mm-hmm. And then the breakdown slows down even more. And it's like, holy shit, do I want to like cry or crowd kill my dog? Like, what's going on right now? Like,
here we go again.
Exactly. No, dude, I don't think that there's enough good to say about this song, and especially combined with the music video. Like the song, in and of itself, like conveys enough emotion as it is. Combine it with the music video, and it's this whole experience. It's just like, it leaves you sitting there like, damn. Like I remember the first time I watched it, I cried because I wasn't prepared for it. I'd heard people saying good about it. I didn't know what to expect. And my God, I was like, it's 2 a.m. Like, why am I in my feels after a breakdown that just slowed down twice? Like, that's just how it should be.
I've got a problem with the mix.
Yeah.
It feels like her voice is drowned out by the instruments most of the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on pretty much every song of theirs that's been released so far, besides Holy Roller. Yeah, where like Holy Roller, her voice comes in very clear. The rest of it, the mix is more focused on the instrumentation. Something that I found helped with that, I guess, spending more time with most of their material, and then also to like listening to looking at the lyrics, because once you understand more, like you've got the lyrics down pat, then her voice almost seems to come in clearer because you've got a better idea of what she's saying, you know? I mean, I think that having signed to Rise, I'm wondering if they'll have more access, like, to different producers or whatever now, because before they were unsigned, and then Rise signed them last year, which is when that remix of Holy Roller dropped. So I'm almost wondering if they might go with a different producer or throw more money at that producer to then make the mixes a little bit better. I mean, even then, maybe it's personal preference. I don't know. But no, I definitely see where you're coming from, and I agree.
Yeah, this song's great. The one comparison I want to make is to Jenny by Nothing More. Very similar message from both of them. Very emotional, very personal songs. And both, I think, I don't know. I had a point and I lost it. I think I want to compare it to Jenny by Nothing More for that emotional element. But then there's also another song from Nothing More called Fade In, Fade Out, which also very heavily, Constance very heavily reminded me of that song. Nothing More in general probably are my favorite band at doing like emotional rock, kind of. In the vein of like a Jenny or a Fade In, Fade Out, as I had mentioned. And I think that's probably why I have enjoyed this song as much as I have. Not to the same level as a Jenny or a Fade In, Fade Out. But this song is still fantastic. The one specific thing I want to note about this one is in the verses, there is a guitar tone that kind of lays deep in the mix under her vocals that just adds so much atmosphere to the entire song. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, the instrumentation does a lot for it. It's like the drums switching up on that second verse is something that I very much appreciated, in the same vein of Roses by Awaken I Am. You know, I feel like that's something that a lot of times the drums kind of go underappreciated, like they're there just to kind of help the rhythm go along. And in this case, it's something that comes to the forefront and adds a lot to the song.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add.
I guess you could
have any
say,
final words, Derek?
Well, I was going to say that maybe the drums in this case add to the atmosphere of the song. Speaking of, Normandie have a new song out, their third single off their upcoming album, and the song is entitled Atmosphere.
Wow.
That's
a cool transition.
Thanks. I didn't listen to this song.
Really?
Yes, but on
you're
purpose.
Not missing much.
On purpose. Okay, yeah, well, I was told that this was supposed to be in the vein of The Bell, which was my second favorite song off of White Flag. And I have decided that I am not going to listen to this song, the new single Babylon that dropped, or anything else that they drop up to the album, because I wasn't a huge fan of Holy Water or Jericho. And Normandie is a band that I very much enjoy, and I don't want to spoil anything for the album or change my expectations going into it. I just want to experience the album in as much of its newness as I can, just in case something else like Jericho or Holy Water comes out. I don't want my expectations to be any more muddled. If Atmosphere and Babylon are good, I want to be blown away on my first listen to the album rather than have these on repeat and have more of the album spoiled for me.
So in saying that,
that's fair.
Atmosphere is definitely like The Bell in many ways. In my opinion, it's better than The Bell, but I am sure you're going to disagree with that one. When
We'll find out.
It depends, especially in the context of the album. We might disagree.
Yeah.
I only listened to this song like twice, and then
this is definitely probably the weakest single so far, I would say.
The least repeatable one for me, at the very least.
I definitely think it's a strange choice to have released this one as a single, similar to the way that they released The Bell as a single, if I'm not mistaken. Where I feel like this is one of those songs where it's like a one-off on the album that you want to experience in the context of the album. And I don't know if it makes sense as a single.
Did they have any like slow songs like The Bell in
Ingas?
In Ingus, yeah.
I don't
I
think so.
Don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because if that's the case, we might just be getting a hybrid of like the two albums, which is fine as long as it's not like a full Ingus where it's just rock heavy after rock heavy. I feel like a good variety of sounds, and just hearing Philip's vocals in general doing different different genres in general just sounds great.
As underwhelmed by I am with this song, Philip's vocals are as good as ever.
Oh yeah,
that is not going to
cannot
change. That is
cannot
not going
change
to change
that
at all. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say about this one in all honesty. It's definitely going to be more of a song that is you need the album. So we'll get to that when it releases in February.
It's also going to be probably a good breakaway because this is I haven't looked at the track list because I kind of want to hold off on that to see like what the opener and closer is going to be. Mm-hmm. But this seems like an interlude track, not to be an interlude track for just instrumentals, but more of kind of the calm before the storm, I guess.
So in saying that, let's move on, I guess. I'm going to preface this with we have a Rising Empire triple threat coming up.
Oh, we sure do.
Let's get started with Armirage and their song Remedy.
So we talked about their album.
We did not.
Did we not?
No, because their album was a February release.
Oh, that's right. We started in March.
So this is our first time that we have ever talked about this band.
Yeah. So they released an album in February last year, and it had a Telly Smith feature, which was probably great. Like one of the best songs on that album.
Top two song on that album. Yeah.
Top two songs and probably one of the most memorable. The rest of the album was kind of forgettable. This is like better than 2/3 of the album.
I would say so, yeah. And I'm even underwhelmed by this song a little bit, and I would still say it's better than 2/3 of that album. My big problem with this band is that every song by them sounds almost exactly the same.
I agree.
And it's very hard to distinguish one song from the other. The only, as I said, that Telly feature on the album is one of the most memorable songs on that album. Not just because of the Telly feature. I think, even if you take out the Telly feature on Falling, it was going to be one of the best songs on that album regardless. But this band sounds very similar in a lot of their material. And I think that's their fatal flaw almost. Because you listen to this song in a vacuum and it's great. You listen to any song by them in a vacuum and it's pretty good at the very least. But it's very hard to make... at least for me... their material doesn't stand out very much, and I think that's the biggest thing holding them back.
Yeah, everything's good, but they need to experiment a little bit more, I feel like. Yeah. My biggest gripe with this song was the unclean vocals, where it almost felt like the vocalist was straining a little bit at times. Like, it wasn't like they were poorly executed, per se. It's just that sort of delivery is something that I'm really... convinced by.
You think he's wrecking his voice?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's tired.
He's pulling in all the Sykes.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it's a little bit out of his range to try and do uncleans that high. It'll be, I guess, I don't want to be mean about it because it's not like I think that they're bad. I just think that sort of way that he's delivering it isn't something that's super resonating with me. What did resonate with me about this song were the subtle strings in the background towards the end of the violin. I thought that was a neat touch. When that kicked in, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Hear that.
Yeah, they're not super. They're not super pronounced.
Now he's got to go add it to his top singles.
Yeah, exactly. It's not super pronounced. It's just at the end, it gives it a little bit of depth. Where I thought I didn't really pick up on it for a while, and then once I heard it, I was like. I gotta go back and listen to that part again. And then when I did, I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
That's the type of stuff they need to sprinkle throughout the rest of their songs.
Right, exactly.
Right. I don't have
I also felt like the instrumentals are really good.
Yeah, I think that's something they're always going to be pretty good at.
Yeah, Yeah.
But there's also like a structure that most of their songs have that is recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if they change that structure up a little bit more, then their music will stand out a bit more.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Nothing comes to mind.
Landmarks Are Lost in a Wave. That's their new song that they released.
I've been thinking way too much. I've been searching for a place to bury myself.
Holy shit.
That was a weird transition that I just did.
Yeah, that was a little scuffed.
Try again.
No.
Something that's way better than that transition is this fucking song. Oh my good
This is
God.
a big step up from whatever they released the other month.
Rainfall.
Rainfall.
That was the one with the weird gong noise, right?
Yeah.
The freaking wannabes.
This song bitch slaps Rainfall into for all intents and purposes. Rainfall doesn't exist. This is it. This is Landmarks. My God, this is good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's destroying Rainfall in terms of streams. Like it's
This
already
is the title track, right?
It is? I don't know.
I'm asking. I'm not sure.
No, I got no
have
clue.
no idea. I'm not too into this band. But...
Now I gotta look it up.
Yeah, so Rainfall, that dropped in what? Was that October? September,
I
October
think
of
it was
last
October,
year?
Yeah.
That was October. It dropped I think the first or second week of December, and it's already got 30,000 more streams than Rainfall does. And this is at 500,000 streams in a month.
Yeah, we're all still on week 1 releases for December, by the way. This is all December 4th that we've talked about so far.
That's crazy. That's sort of
So-
growth for this band.
That's something I was saying
it is the
with
title.
Justin before you guys joined the call earlier. That December 4th was like one of the strongest release days of the entire year.
Yeah. What's the title of the album, Jacob?
Lost in the Waves with an S. On the end.
Man, the delivery in the chorus reminded me of the Sean's cleans from Make Them Suffer. And then a little bit too of the chorus of Bleed For You by Alpha Wolf. Like there were parts in the chorus where it's sort of like that gruff sing scream that's sort of like Architects, but it's got a bit more of an edge to it. It was really interesting. I heard it and I'm like, what does this remind me of? And I sat there and listened to the chorus just over and over again until it popped into my head. It took me like 10 minutes. If that wasn't good enough, this breakdown,
Brutal.
it's fucking mental.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was cooling with the song. I was like, this is really that hit. And I made the disgusted face. Like it was like oh my goodness, what am I listening to? This is awesome.
I think I would prefer the breakdown without the low vocals in it, personally, just to experience the instrumentation of it and the brutal
I'm the
heaviness
exact
of
opposite.
But
I think it adds to the brutality and makes it all.
it
much
definitely
better.
adds to the brutality.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I like.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I'm not a huge
That's
fan.
true.
I'm not a huge fan
Right.
of the lows that go that low. Yeah. Sick breakdown.
Yeah,
Just a minor grievance, really.
yeah. The song. in general
It's
is
something
sick.
I can get over for how good the rest of the song is.
Right. Man, this next band here, One Morning Left, have we discussed them before?
No, this is a new discovery for me.
So we've got a new single out from One Morning Left, entitled Neon Highway.
The final triple threat of the Arising Empire triple threat, as I had mentioned.
Yeah, this is interesting.
It is. It's really interesting. It's kind of got elements of like a My Diligent Future sound, where it's like electronic influenced metal. But this is a really fun song. I really enjoyed it. I listened to it at first because I was like, okay, it's got an interesting thumbnail on the music video. Let me give this a shot. And then I was like, yeah, that's a solid song. And I didn't plan on going back to it, but I kept going back to it. And I'm like, yeah, this is just a really solid song.
It sounds like an anime opening.
Yeah.
It kind of has elements of it.
It almost gives me like power metal vibes in terms of structure at times, I guess. But like, if you took some of the rhythm and or lead guitars and replaced them with electronics, like it almost feels like instead of adding to them, they substitute for them, and somehow it works.
Yeah,
It's like,
this is a sound that I have like never really heard before, but I really dig it.
yeah. I was just about to say, like, my feeling on this song is that I'm not sure if I like it, but I dig it.
Yeah.
Like I have yet to form an opinion on whether or not I actually enjoy what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But it's certainly something like this sort of vibe is something I can definitely get behind.
They do have an album coming out at some point 2021, so we'll see about that.
Yeah, very interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think interesting is just a good word to describe this band and this song in general. I haven't gone back to any of their other material yet, but it's definitely a very interesting style. I was particularly a fan of the electronic beat in the chorus. It's just like really fun and upbeat. And then the kind of breakdown in the breakdown section of the song, I don't think it's anything too special, but it's solid. Overall, I actually really enjoy the Queen vocalist of this band. I think he has a really solid voice. Fits well. It's a nice contrast to the harsher vocals that show up from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overall, I'm interested to see where this band goes in the future. But I don't have too much more to comment on other than what I've already said.
Yeah.
So that takes us to a band called Attack Attack! Exclamation point.
And they're
anytime I hear the name of their artist, I keep thinking of Attack of the Show from G4.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you think of crabs.
No.
Yeah. Well, you know what doesn't really remind me of crabs, unfortunately, is this new song entitled All My Life.
Yeah,
Somebody...
So I never really was into Attack Attack before. I listened to whatever the Crabcore song is like once or twice.
Stickler.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I never got into this band. I listened to that song like once or twice, wasn't a fan of it. They released this song, I listened to it 10 minutes before we started recording this episode. I don't have much to say on it, but it's alright, I guess.
I think it's a washed down Falling in Reverse song.
Yeah, somebody on Twitter said that if it wasn't labeled as an Attack Attack song, then everyone would like it. But the problem is that if you're coming back, the kings of Crabcore reunite after what, like 8-9 years, and then they release this, which sounds like somebody wrote this song and then like somebody 3 rooms down was thinking about Crabcore, and some of those vibes like floated over into the song and like very vaguely gave it this like second verse, almost drum Crabcore breakdown thing. Kinda. Like, I don't know. I think this is a good song, and I think it's honestly probably the Attack Attack song I enjoy the most, because I've never really been into Attack Attack. But this isn't Crabcore. And if you're going to release music under the name of Crabcore Legends, then I feel like you should put out something that really strongly resembles or is Crabcore, and this just isn't that. I don't know. It's got the same like good production in terms of like introducing electronic elements that Attack Attack did, but it doesn't feel like Attack Attack.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I would like it more if it just wasn't under the name Attack Attack.
Yeah, exactly.
I probably would too, to be honest.
Yo, give me Defend, and release this. Like, I'm down for that.
I don't know if there's too much more to say.
No. I'm interested to see where they go from here. Maybe if they look at some of the reception and say, okay, like, let's take a step back, reevaluate what we're doing. But, you know, I don't know. I wish that they would have asked maybe Caleb Shomo or Johnny Frank to come back to their band rather than just getting a new vocalist, because Johnny Frank didn't even turn it down. I don't think they offered.
I think they should just do a feature with one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thickly too.
Y'all want to
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Justin, I want you to take this one.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. You say so. Written by Wolves. Oh no. All caps.
Full caps. Oh no.
Full caps. This is 2020 in a nutshell.
This is the 2020 song. I have a bunch of lyrics written down because I think that's the best way to describe what this song is.
It's like literally the breakdown. After the second chorus into the breakdown is literally describing what the fuck happened in 2020.
You want me to read out the lyrics? I got them right in front of me.
Go for it.
First came the fires, then we lined up for World War III. Listened to the liars and their special brand of idiocy. Then came the virus. Well, hasn't that just been a treat? Don't forget the riots, because oppression's still yet to be beat. And that's the breakdown. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed. That's also the summary of 2020 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. Jake, Justin, you two are the bigger Written by Wolves fans out of us four. So how are you feeling about this song in general?
Not my favorite.
It's better than Any Second, but I would also say it is weaker than a lot of material off of Secrets from 2019.
If this was on Secrets, this would be on the lowest part of the album for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because pretty much all of Secrets, barring like 2 songs, Forever and Always and Lucky Stars maybe, I still spin that album, and it's been 2 years, and that album's great. It's amazing. This song, I pretty much really just play it for the breakdown, honestly. The chorus is kind of forgettable. Basically telling about 2020 being a car crash. And what's funny is that New Zealand On Air funded this song, or funded the band to put out this song.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, they advertised it before they released it. Was that they got funding from New Zealand to make this song about how fucked up 2020 was. I thought that just was great. But yeah, no, this is one of the lower end songs. Even though, the vocalist can do much better. Mm-hmm. And I feel like so much better from Secrets was, some of their best work. Hell, even like their Prologue EP, I think, had better songs than Any Second and maybe Oh No. I really hope if they are putting out like an EP or an album in 2021, it's something more akin to Secrets than whatever they're trying to go for with these 2 songs.
I know we are downplaying this song, but I still think it's a solid song. Like, by no means is it just terrible, but...
Yeah, no, it's not bad. It's just not what I'm looking for in this band.
Mm-hmm. I think...
but what...
Any Second, like, the chorus was very muted, and I feel like it's not nearly as bad in this song, but I still almost feel that way. That, like, some of the vocals are a little more muted in this song than they probably should be. But overall, like, Written by Wolves are one of my favorite bands, so I'm still going to be spinning this quite a bit, even if it's one of their more underwhelming songs.
I'm probably going to be spinning this until the next single comes out, really. I haven't touched Any Second since Oh No came out.
Yeah, same here, pretty much. Well, I was underwhelmed by Oh No. I think there's one song that came out that I was not underwhelmed by. Siamese.
My boys are back.
Their new song is called Can't Force the Love. And
so good.
I was not super high on this band when you introduced me to them last year, Justin. Or not even last year. 2019. I kind of forget where 2020 was.
Yeah, I gotta get used to that.
It still feels like it's 2020, to be honest. But Siamese, I was never super high on them. I thought Home was alright. It had some decent elements to it, but Can't Force the Love is like by far one of the best songs they have ever done. This song is incredible. The verses are amazing. The chorus, it's fat, it's big. And then the breakdown, it's got the violins, and it's just, this song has everything. This song has everything and more than what I expected out of this band.
It's a good mix of that kind of hard rock mixed with pop, which is what this band is kind of known for. They were kind of a lot more poppy in some of their earlier albums, and then when Superhuman came out, they kind of branched more into the rock kind of almost post-hardcore sound of it all. And then when Home came out, that happened. But this seems much more influenced by their pop elements, and it is amazing. Yeah, this is exactly what I listen to this band for.
Yeah, the dude's vocals are great. Like, the chorus is great, but I especially think in the second verse, the second half of the second verse where he kind of changes pitch a little bit works so well. And even lyrically, this song is great lyrically. I don't have any of it noted down, but there's some great lyrics that, like, once they hit me, I'm like, oh, damn, okay. Yeah, this song is incredible.
Derek, Jacob, have you guys listened to this yet?
I like it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good, not great, is how I feel about it. And generally, like a lot of Siamese material in general. I mentioned when we were talking about Captives, again, that there's a lot of bands that put out music that I don't dislike any of their material. I'm just waiting for something that I love. Mm-hmm. And I really liked this, but it wasn't that one that I loved that I could see myself saying, okay, I'm officially a fan of this band.
I think this is that one song for me. I think this one's done it for me. There was one song off of Superhuman, I think, called Not Coming Home, which I gave quite a bit of time to, but otherwise, This song has kind of done a 180 to what I had previously thought of them. And I'm very excited to see what they got coming.
I feel like they've really upped how they do instruments, because I don't remember anything off of Superhuman off the top of my head that really incorporated violins.
Yeah, I don't
as heavily as something like this.
The strings on this are amazing.
They're really good. That's all I got.
Jake, I think this next one is a band that you've kind of brought to our attention.
I got this one, fellas. Scarlet Riot are back with a new song called Gravity. We talked about them back on our very first episode, if I'm not mistaken, the March recap. They released a song way early in 2020 called Human, which I wasn't super high on, but it had probably one of the best breakdowns that the band has ever done, and kept me going back to that song. Gravity, I think, is a decent continuation from what Human was. I think it's overall the better song, but still nothing amazing. My favorite songs from them are still off of their previous album, Regenerate. But overall, I think this song is pretty solid. This band has always shined the most instrumentally, and I think this song is a great demonstration of that. The opening to this song hits hard right away, and it just takes you in for a ride. And I feel like her vocals, while they were something that I used to be a big fan of, having discovered more bands, they've kind of fallen down my list a little bit. I'm not as high on the vocals as I was in the past. But overall, I'm still a pretty big fan of this song. I think it's solid.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at, in the sense that I think it's a solid song. I don't think it's like a great song or anything. This is how I kind of wish Icon for Hire sounded. Like this sort of vibe, rather than some of the new stuff that they released. I know they put out that single, like 2 months ago or something like that.
They put out another single in December. We aren't going to be talking about it, but
yeah. This is the sort of style of just rock, especially female fronted, that I'm looking for. I wasn't necessarily overwhelmed by this song, but it was definitely one that I was pleasantly surprised by, because again, my only exposure to this band is through us talking about them on here after you brought them to our attention. So thank you for that. But
I discovered them back in 2017, right after they released Regenerate. They went quiet for 2 years. I was a little sad about it. I still, as I mentioned, I think their best material is on that album. If you go to songs like Break or Warrior, I think those are their 2 best songs personally, but I don't want to get on too much of a tangent. Gravity's a solid song. I'm excited to see where they go in the future. I think they have an album slated for this year. I don't think it has a date yet, but we'll see where that goes. Let's move on to Tillian. He's got a new song called Dose.
man, it's 2020, and we got a new Tides of Man song. By God.
I've never listened to Tides of Man.
Oh man, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's that same sort of like dreamy post-hardcore vibe, but with a decade later's production on it. By God, this has grown on me a lot.
Same.
I wasn't sure what to think of it when it came out because it was so dissimilar. Like all of his previous solo material has been sort of more like in the vein of a pop, maybe like a pop post-hardcore vibe for some of the songs, especially on songs like Made of Plastic from his last album. This is just full, more in the vein of actual post-hardcore, especially the type that was done, like I said, with Tides of Man back when he was in the band. And apparently a lot, like the entire album sounds like this sort of style, which is sort of like a darker tone than the previous ones. And I'm really excited for it because I love this.
Yeah, this is probably one of my 3 favorite songs by Tillian. And just for some context, even though I don't know if it's needed, Tillian is the lead vocalist of Dance Gavin Dance. This is his solo project. This was more rock than I expected it to be. I wasn't The Skeptic, that was the 2018 album. I wasn't huge on that other than like Cocky. And then Perfect Enemy. Is that the other one? I enjoyed a lot of that album, but a lot of that album was a lot more trending towards like pop radio ready material. And this is a complete diversion away from it, but I love it. I was not expecting this out of a Tillian song in the slightest.
Something that's really interesting to me is that this is a return to form for like Tides of Man, right? His first solo album dropped in 2013, 3 years after the last Tides of Man album he recorded. And that album, his 2013 solo material one, was very like electronically influenced pop with a lot of like post-production effects, which I would have guessed that as he brings more of a pop edge to Dance Gavin Dance and their music steadily becomes more accessible, his solo stuff in turn isn't becoming poppier. It's returning to more of a post-hardcore vibe. It feels like the two are sort of inverse. Like they've done it backwards. Like as Dance Gavin Dance gets
they're
poppier,
going to become the same thing.
Right, exactly. There's going to be that crossover. The lines are going to cross, and it's going to be the most beautiful moment in music history. But
I don't think it's any secret that I'm not the biggest fan of John Mess in Dance Gavin Dance, and he's a big reason why I haven't been able to get into them as much as I wish I was able to.
Yeah.
So I will gladly take a Tillian solo project trending in this direction, because this is exactly what I want to be hearing.
Yeah, like I said, apparently the whole album sounds like a Tides of Man album, but with some new production values, so I'm very interested to see where this goes. Either way, this is a great teaser for what the rest of the album sounds like. I'm very excited.
Definitely. The Static Wake, another band we have yet to talk about on the show. There's a lot of new bands we have yet to talk about. We're talking about this. Smaller band, they've got a new single out called Leech. They released their debut EP last year. I don't remember when, but I discovered it back in like August, September, sometime around there. And I thought it was solid. Like I liked every song off of that 6-track EP. Has it stuck with me? No, not really. Not at all, actually. but it's all good. And I think Leech is kind of in the same vein of, it's not bad by any means. I listened to this and it's good. But I don't know if there's too much that's keeping it memorable to me, other than the fact that I'm listening to it as a single instead of in the context of the EP.
Right.
I think this is the worst song on our playlist today.
Oh,
this is awful.
Damn. Okay. Wow.
And I think it's the lyrics. Really
the lyrics aren't
cringy.
anything too special. Yeah,
I think they're really cringy.
the breakdown is like Bloodsucker, I think, if I remember correctly. And the song's called Leech.
So there's a like a vocal melody. I think it's in the second verse of the song that feels kind of off tempo with the instrumentals. Like it feels like the lines, like the vocal lines, are being stretched where they shouldn't be. I don't know. It was a little different in a way that didn't necessarily click with me. But something, the most memorable part of this song to me were those pinch harmonics in the opening riff of this song. Mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for those. I love when bands do that, man. I heard that and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be really good. And then I got to the rest of the song and I was like, yeah, it came and went.
Yeah,
I listened to metalcore. I'm moving on.
Mm-hmm. It's nothing groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But they're a smaller band and they definitely have potential in them, so I wanted to give them the light of day here and highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've only got like 4,500 monthly listeners. So
on the rise.
Oh, that EP. I recognize that album art. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't bad. They got potential. I agree with you. This band's going to go somewhere eventually. It's just this song doesn't feel like sort of a breakthrough for them.
They need more time to experiment, find their sound, all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on.
Yo, speaking of jazz.
Yeah, actually. That was an unintentional transition.
Let's talk about this new song from Half-Hearted entitled Be My Religion.
Half-Hearted are another band that just did not stop in 2020.
Yeah. This is a vibe.
Yeah. Not my favorite. It's not as good as Gossip, in my opinion, but this is a good ass song. Half-Hearted are great. Big fan. Shout out to the CT boys. This song, it's lacking that thing that's super memorable to me, other than that funny line where it's like the only Golden Gate I know is out in California. And I think this song is like it's referencing relationships in some sense of like be my religion, in the sense that like your religion is like something that you hold very close to you, so you want your other person to like be your religion in a sense. And I think that line of like the only Golden Gate, like there's a reference to heaven there somewhere. I don't have the English capacity to tie it together tonight.
Well, I mean, heaven is literally called like the Golden Gates or the Pearly Gates.
So fair enough. I didn't have
to say it is literally right there.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun line. Wanted to bring that up. But overall, solid song.
I think it's interesting that you don't think that this is like as strong of a single as the others, because this is actually my favorite one since that album dropped.
This is my
favorite thing they've released.
This is my second
favorite. Okay. I was gonna say, this is like, I don't know if anybody here has listened to A Marionette before. They dropped a album last year entitled Modern Disco, I think 2 or 3. And this kind of gave me the same vibe to that it feels like it's sort of this like jazzy disco vibe that I really appreciate them incorporating them, because I feel like this is sort of a new experiment with sound for them. Like there's still the normal vibes of a Half-Hearted song, but they've thrown in this new layer that I think works incredibly. If I got an entire album that sounded like this, I'd be fine with it.
Oh yeah, I would agree for sure.
I really enjoyed this like a lot.
I feel like they lost their like classic guitar tone that I've come to enjoy from most of their songs in Be My Religion, but I don't think it takes away from the song at all. It's just like an experimentation, as you had mentioned.
Yeah, no, and I don't think, not that they're like, I don't want to say it without making it seem like I don't like their guitar work, because I actually really do like their guitar work. But it's like, if this is the sort of thing we're trending to, then the guitar won't be missed in the sense that I think that this is also a good sound for them. That they don't need the guitar to be good. It just adds, I really enjoyed this more than I was really expecting to, I guess. because I thought the last couple singles were like good, but I thought that this was great.
I think that like I felt Gossip was great and the rest have all been good. I think this is good. It's like in between good and great. Gossip is the only great one of these 4 singles in my opinion. I don't know what more material they have planned at this point. I know back in July when this whole set of 4 singles was planned, they're like, these are the 4 singles we got coming out for the rest of the year. I don't know what they got planned for 2021 at this point. Maybe an EP. I doubt another album. I'd be surprised if another album, but hey, I wouldn't be complaining about it. But yeah, Half-Hearted, Be My Religion, solid song. Justin, do you have anything you want to mention on this one real quick?
No, Derek expressed it perfectly when he said vibe. I think that's like literally the best explanation for this band, at least for like the past 4 singles they put out. It's just the vibe.
Yeah,
you can really pick any single of the day and just vibe with it and feel like you got something good out of it. I don't think there's a bad single here, or that one is really better than the other. It's just that they're all good in their own right.
Yeah. Let's get moving on then. Closure have released 2 songs. Let's talk about Sync first and foremost.
Why can't you see it's killing me? Never thought that I could be myself.
So they released 2 songs. I have more to say about Roadside Flyers, which we'll get to in a bit. Me personally, I had trouble distinguishing between these 2 songs, but they're both really solid.
That's exactly how I'm feeling about it.
Yeah, Derek, go into your thoughts. I'm curious to see what you have to think about this band.
This is in the same vein as a Dreamhouse or Future Palace for me, where I'm listening to them, and it's obviously like the obvious comparison there is it's a female vocalist, but it's a female-fronted rock band with elements that remind me of other bands, and I'm listening to it, I'm enjoying it, I really like it, but not enough to revisit it. And I feel like, especially for me, like obviously you were very high on that Future Palace album.
Yeah.
How I felt about it is that it was a very good album, and it felt like they were demonstrating to the listener that, hey, we have more to offer, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's what this feels like to me. These feel like statements of, hey, here's how good we are now. Keep an eye on us because in the future, it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, this band doesn't have a lot of material under their belt, and they already sound really good. Mm-hmm. So, I won't claim to be super high on it in the sense that I didn't listen to either of these and go, okay, I need to revisit these again and again. Like, these are instant playlist ads, anything like that. But this band has now piqued my interest, and they've got themselves on my radar. And for an up-and-coming band, for your songs to do that for people, I feel like is more important, arguably, than putting out something that knocks everybody's socks off, at least in the start.
Yeah. I thought Sync was the more underwhelming one. I'm going to transition over into Roadside Flowers here.
I never cared, 'cause I was never really there, and you'll never know.
Because I thought Roadside Flowers was the significantly better song. I thought it had a really neat song structure, and especially the bass line that goes through the verses I thought was great. It reminded me of some song. I forget which one, but I don't know. I was just a big fan of Roadside Flowers. You mentioned that this band like kind of reminds you of some other bands.
Yeah. Like
there's pieces of it. I had written down that this is if like Dance Gavin Dance had a female vocalist instead of Tillian.
Huh.
I don't know.
I don't know if I quite follow.
Because I don't know, the way that their unclean vocalist sang kind of reminded me of John Mess in a way.
Okay.
Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But
I think what I need to do then is keep that, and I'm going to write that down. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to give that vibe. I'm going to have that vibe in my head as I listen to it and see where it goes.
Because instrumentally, it also kind of reminded me of Dance Gavin Dance in a way. I don't even know like how to describe the sound, to be honest. But
Math.
yeah, math rock.
Yeah. Math rock, mathcore, swancore.
Something like that, yeah. Overall, Closure I found them a couple months ago with their song Sweep Sound. They had a couple other, I think, like Laundry Day. This is definitely a band that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. They have piqued my interest, for sure. So, I don't have too much more to add. As I said, like, they kind of blended together. And when on release day, I was like, these are both really good songs. I'm going to be revisiting them a lot. And then we had our top 10 albums episode, and I had to listen to like 5 more albums before the end of the year. So I kind of forgot about these two because they just blended together. But definitely worth checking out. Closure is a band. They've got potential in them.
Man, bands that have potential.
Oh boy.
McKenna with their new single, Finer Highs.
They're 3 for 3.
This
They have not.
is so good. This is the best. Absolutely.
Second best behind Habitual. I am still a sucker for Habitual, but this song is great.
This is the only one of the 3 that stuck with me.
Yep, I agree.
So,
I think the other 2 were good and showed this band had potential. This is the first time that they've put out a song. I've listened to it and been, damn, this band is good. Like, this is a good ass song.
I am waiting for that EP announcement to come. It's gotta be soon. It's gotta be soon. Unless it's an album and we've just been teased or something. But McKenna are unbelievably talented. It's ridiculous. It's just actually ridiculous. The dude's vocals, I mean, as I've said before, just incredible.
Yeah, they shine especially brightly in this song. I think the chorus is what really, really gets the song over the edge. You know, that it finally feels like their vocalist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like the vocalist finally has not broken free of his cage, but he's unrestrained himself. I guess like we're exploring a higher range with more melody, and as he explores that, it gets shown in the song as something that, like, this is the first earworm, I guess would be the way to describe it, at least for me. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the one that's not only stuck with me in terms of wanting to revisit it, but it's kind of been stuck in my head. That sort of thing. That's
what Habitual did to me. Like, I'm thinking about Habitual right now, and it's in my head right now. I can't lie. Finer Highs hasn't done that to me, but it's still an incredible song. And I'm glad to hear that you guys are as high on it as you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's awesome to see like smaller bands grow, because even when we started talking about them, they were just below 2,000 monthly listeners, I believe. And right now they're at 5,500. Yeah. So obviously we were single-handedly responsible for that, right?
Yeah. Sir.
Oh, of course, right.
To see them double and for a band like this to get the appreciation that they deserve is great. I'm really happy that they're able to get that recognition and put out material that's this good.
We don't got too many more songs to be talking about. Let's talk about Our Hollow, Our Home, another new band for this podcast. Their new song called Burn in the Flood.
Lead single off the upcoming album. We haven't really gotten anything new from them since they were instrumental albums last year, and I believe 2018's it was in the same vein as Dreaming is Sinking, Waking is Rising. It was like a 2-part thing.
I can't remember.
It's in Moment in Memory. That's what it is. Which I thought was pretty good. Always looking forward to new material from this band. I believe they're based out of Britain. This is some good ass metalcore.
This is some metalcore ass metalcore.
Exactly.
So I'm not a fan of like bands being like super aggressive at the beginning of the song and then it immediately dying off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. But other than that, I love this song.
Well, that's like a lot of their material, to be honest. Like there's one song, there's one song in general I'm thinking of off of Heartsick. What is it? Carmadillo is the name of this song. And it just starts off like really brutal, and then we go into this like slower paced, clean chorus. Like they do that a lot. I feel like there is definitely, for better or for worse, an Our Hollow, Our Home formula to a lot of their songs. But to me, like, it works. Like I thought that all of their previous material is really good. This is really good. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't see a lot of people talking about this band, even though like there are plenty of good British metalcore bands out there. But like, I feel like they deserve to be talked about, maybe not as much, but at least in the same discussion as a band like, I don't know, Bury Tomorrow. Whereas Bury Tomorrow is like much more popular. Like Bury Tomorrow needs to take this band out on a tour, is what they need to do.
That sounds like a very good match.
This band is better than Bury Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So we're going there. That's going to be a no for me, but I appreciate it. You know, I mean, this is metalcore done right and metalcore done well. And in a world where there are a bunch of metalcore bands out there, you know, there's got to be thousands of them at this point that are putting out material that's sort of subpar, maybe in production or in writing. Like, I feel like every Our Hollow, Our Home song has something to offer. And I don't think that, whether it be instrumentally, lyrically, vocally, whatever, and I don't think this is any exception to that.
I really appreciated this song instrumentally. The guitar work was fantastic.
Yeah, the instrumentals in this band are fantastic.
This was my first exposure to them, and I've definitely got my eye out for them now.
We got 2 singles left, fellas.
Yeah, let's head on down to the second to last one, shall we? Led by Lanterns, and wow, it's a song called Down, but with an X.
I thought it was Dawn.
No, it's Down.
It is down.
It is most certainly down.
Is it going down? I feel it. If you don't wait a minute, girl, I don't wanna waste your time. You're telling me.
I don't know why they did DXWN, but it's a good song, so like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Led by Lanterns are like, they're one of my favorite hidden gems. The dude's vocals have been great forever, and they are so catchy. Instrumentally great, production is great, mixing is great. I have enjoyed almost everything I have heard from this band since I found them. And while I don't think this is their strongest material, it is more of what I want to be hearing from them. And I ain't gonna be complaining, because this is fun, it's groovy, it's catchy. Just
Do you think this is better, or do you think this is better than Fever?
No, I think this is the weakest of the 3 singles they released this year, but by no means is it a bad song.
Weird, because I think Criminal is their best.
Yes, I would agree.
And I think Fever is the weakest for me. But Down is still really good.
Yeah. Led by Lanterns really need more recognition. I don't know, like,
They
really
do.
have not, like, they're still, like, the relatively same size as when I found them back in late 2019. And I feel
Which
like
is
that's
weird,
just kind of criminal.
Which is weird, because they've toured with Normandie.
Yeah. This band definitely deserves more recognition. I don't know what needs to happen for them to get it, but this band is doing great things, and Down is just another step in the right direction.
Derek, you looked like you were going to say something. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I actually did not get to listen to this.
Okay.
It's on my radar because this is, the previous material we talked about by them was stuff I really enjoyed. So I mean to get around to it. It was just one of those things like we talked about before where there's a lot of material, and by the time we were all said and done with the award, I was just so done with listening to new music.
Yep.
That's fair.
I don't really have too much to add, to be honest.
No, I don't either.
It's a good song, but I don't feel like there's too much to say about it, which is how I felt about a lot of the songs we talked about this episode. But
the chorus is pretty. The chorus is really groovy. I think. Probably
yeah, that's something they got going. That's something that they have for every song they've put out, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
So, without further ado, let's head off to our last single for the month.
Let's
on the last day of 2020.
Let's end the singles on a sad note with fucking Rory Rodriguez and Seneca Petty fucking New Year's Eve by Hurtwave, and oh my god, it's so good.
The new year comes, but I'll be lonely tonight till you come back for more.
Yeah. I know we mentioned back in October that My Father Said was like the best song this band has done. Am I gonna be like crucified for saying this is better? Or am I allowed to have that opinion?
I think this is better.
So I don't agree that it's better, but given that it's my second favorite behind My Father Said, I won't knock you for it.
That's
I
fair.
agree. I'll agree with Derek.
As a record, by the way, they have 2 more singles coming out before Night Therapy 1 is done. So they've already got 5 out, and Night Therapy is supposed to have 7.
This is the love child to Starving to Be Empty.
Yeah.
And it's great. This is so good. This
I feel like you can put
far and away
you
my
could put
favorite Hurtwave song.
You could put Rory and Seneca pretty much on anything, and if it's just them, they'll like do fine. You don't even need to give them fucking instruments. If they just sing, I feel like they're fine.
Yeah.
They work together so well. So
good.
well. Like,
Yeah. So we get one more single after this, right? And then the EP
2
drops
more.
in February.
2 more.
Well, it's a 7-song EP, right?
Yeah, and there's 5.
Right. So I guess technically we get the second single out of the 2 in February, but at that point the EP is complete.
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So then, yeah. So we'll get one. We'll talk about one next month, and then the EP, I guess, a month after that. But I don't know. On one hand, I appreciate getting new material from this project every month, and then on the other hand, I'm like, well, couldn't I have, or at least, I guess I would have liked to have maybe like 2 or 3 singles, and then the other 4 just drop all together as an EP.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the Citizen Soldier effect, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know.
Somewhat of a smaller scale, maybe.
Well, I feel like something like this, where especially you're trying out this, where like every step of the way just kind of feels like new territory.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you kind of have to do it like that, where you release it one by one, just to make sure it does well.
That's fair.
Probably, if once Night Therapy 2 comes out, because he's already said they're working on that.
Right.
They'll probably do it a bit more structural with like couple singles and then the EP release. But I feel like some with this, kind of test the waters by releasing everything one at a time.
I also think this song makes sense as a single. You can't just release
Yeah.
New Year's Eve on a day that is not New Year's Eve. You know?
No.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this song. It's one of the only ones that I've had on repeat for more than just like a day or 2. I keep going back to the song even like a week later at this point, and I'm still just as in love with it as I was when it released. It's got everything you could ever want out of a Rory and Seneca collab once again. And that's about all I can say. I don't know if there's anything else to add, fellas, but
No, nothing that I can think of. Just overall, it's what's to be expected from this project. Another good song, right?
yeah. So that gets us done with the singles in maybe the fastest time we've ever done. Good work, team. Good work, team. We can talk about the fat of this month. We got 4 EPs and 3 albums to get through. And let's get started with that, with none other than Too Close to Touch and I'm Hard to Love But So Are You, Volume 4. Which
This came out of nowhere.
This just came out of nowhere. Like, I thought we were like a year gone from the I'm Hard to Love But So Are You EP trilogy. Turned into a trilogy plus 1, I guess. But I will gladly take it because all 3 of these songs are great. And I have not spent nearly enough time with them as I should have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how do I go about this? This is my favorite of the I'm Hard to Love But So Are You series, I guess it would be. I'm interested to see how this develops. Like, they released 3 in 2019. Gone for a year. This comes back 2020. Is this a product of the fact that Corona hit and they just weren't able to record anything? Or is this we spent the last year recording a new album, here's something else to tide you over until that comes out? You know?
Yeah.
Because I'm almost hoping that I'm hoping it's the second for 2 reasons. One, because I want a new Too Close to Touch album. It's been 5 years. Where's the new album? 2, if the songs sound like they do on this EP, then, you know, we're talking about album of the year. Album of the year is in the conversation. Because, my God, every single one of the songs on this EP aren't amazing. Like, each of them seems to have its own, like, personality. I guess, like, Too Close to Touch has always dabbled with, like, electronic elements, and especially in these last couple of EPs. But I feel like on Complain, it really culminates to something that catchy, melodic, very enjoyable. You've got We Are All Criminals, which is sort of this almost anthemic song with incredible lyricism. You know, it's not necessarily the same sort of deep emotional lyricism that we got on something like Haven't Been Myself, but it's still profound, I guess, in a way that felt like it had almost been missing a little bit from the past couple EPs. Like, it was something that I'd grown to expect from the band, and then they kind of let up on it a little bit and then delved back into it in the song. And then Pick Me Up, which, I mean, fellas.
The best song.
The best song of probably the 4.
What a
EPs.
song. That transition from his lower range after the first, like, verse and chorus into his higher range and the second verse and chorus still gets me every time. I mean, goosebumps.
What did that come
good.
from?
I don't know. And then he's delved or been so far removed, I guess, from his style of harsher vocals that they've changed. They sound less kind of from the sternum chest area and more kind of almost guttural in the vein of like a John Mess, I guess, which is like, I would not have put John Mess and Keaton Pierce into the same conversation, but suddenly it's like, I love this. Like, not to say I didn't love Too Close to Touch before, but like this style from him, I mean, it was just so unexpected after the last couple of EPs that we gotten to get a song like that. I mean, oh my goodness, everything on here just works so well. This band's incredible.
With so much variety on this, you gotta wonder what the actual album is gonna sound like, if it's gonna stick with any one of these, or if it's just gonna be a cornucopia of just different genres.
I would
So much
prefer,
variety.
yeah,
Just 3 songs.
yeah. If we're talking about influences from this EP, the other EPs on a new album, I hope that they take, because this has been all about experimentation, right? Like, before it was just post-hardcore. This is post-hardcore with so many different like twinges and flares that I feel like they should take that experimentation from these EPs, take what worked, and throw them into an overall cohesive sound. Because like one of my biggest gripes with what was it, Nerve Endings, their debut album, was that it felt like it was a little bit all over the place. Like, it felt like they were trying to find their sound, and then they found it on Haven't Been Myself. And that Haven't Been Myself felt like one cohesive message, one overall front to back cohesive package. And then they need to replicate that. Not necessarily that same style, but if they can keep one album that front to back feels like an album rather than a collection of singles, and has the influences from these EPs, I mean, it's going to be incredible. This band has all the potential in the world to put out an amazing album based on what we've heard on this EP and the previous 3. And I really hope that they follow through on it, because if we get 6 more I'm Hard to Love, But So Are Yous, I don't know how much more of it I can take. Like, just give me the album already, man. Like,
Just
I've got 12 songs.
Come on.
Yeah, put all these songs together on one album, for God's sake. Like, I don't care. I just need something. I need something. I need like a 10 to 12 track of Too Close to Touch to chew on. New material. Give it to me. I need it. Inject it directly into my bloodstream. I'm ready.
Yeah, this is... I think I said that I have been very underwhelmed by EPs in 2020 for the most part. And then December comes around and gives me like 4 of the 10 best EPs I heard all year. That's a little bit of a preface into what we're getting into, but this is fantastic. I'm still not huge on We Are All Criminals, but Pick Me Up is still amazing, and Complain has grown on me more and more the more time that I've had with it. And overall, like, Too Close to Touch. I mean, you've basically said anything that could be said about the CP, Derek. That
I wonder if I liked it. I wonder maybe how it or if it placed on my top EPs of the year.
Maybe you should. Maybe you should go watch that episode, Derek. I don't know, man.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe I can go find out. I don't want to spoil it for myself, but you know.
Yeah. I don't have too much more to add. I think
stuff.
Most of what could be said about this EP has already been said, so.
It's good shit.
It's really good.
This band's incredible.
Yep. All the way.
We got another good EP to talk about here, don't we?
Let's talk about VRSTY. Cloud City.
My boys, VRSTY. Have you guys been listening to these guys before I showed them?
Yes.
Yes. You introduced me
not.
with the Black EP last year.
Right, and that's where I got into them. Yeah. There is not one song here I don't like. It is all really good.
I was very underwhelmed by that Black EP. This is taking like 5 steps up from that EP, in my opinion. This is really good. There is, as you said, there's not a bad song on here. I am confused as to why Wilt made it on here not once, but twice, especially considering it was already on that Black EP from 2019 EP.
Oh, they pulled it in Escape the Fate.
Right.
Oh,
so
man.
I just pretend that it ends at Cloud City. And in that vein, all 5 songs are incredible. We actually didn't talk about them when they released Shameless and Massive back in like September, October, November, whenever those other songs released. Because I mean, those couple of months had so many songs. So I was like, this EP is coming out in December. We'll eventually get to talking about it anyway. And there's so much good to say about this EP.
There was a lot of good. I was following this band a lot on Instagram, where they were posting a lot of teasers and stuff. So I got snippets of Dig and Pathos. So when I finally got to listen to like the full tracks, I was like,
I misheard
yes.
that.
What?
Nothing.
So you're not gonna explain? You're just gonna leave us hanging like that?
Yeah, you guys can figure it out.
Okay.
I'll leave it up to the viewers.
But yeah, I don't know which one's my favorite, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite either. It's just all really good. I think if I had to pick, it would probably be Shameless, just because that was like first single status, like, and that one kind of blew me away when I had very low expectations for this band. So I don't know, but like, Massive, I mean, as the song says, it's a massive song. It's got a big chorus. Same with Shameless as well. The Go On and Bury Me into the riff breakdown thing is sick. And then the other singles that came with the CP, Dig, Pathos, and Cloud City, they're just as good. They're just as up there. This is probably one of the most well-rounded EPs I heard all year.
I think Dig probably has the best chorus. Dig
is the one I've given the least amount of time to personally. So
it has like a really good like powerful chorus, but like a lot of the verses kind of just fall a little bit. But I feel like a lot of these songs just have so much good in them that it's hard to pick a favorite because of that. When we get an album from this band, that's probably gonna be like, album of the year at some point.
Okay, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I mean, they're getting there.
I mean, yeah, they're definitely getting there. As I said, like, this is a huge step up from that Black EP.
Derek, what do you think of this?
This band to me will always be Captive's Light.
Yeah,
that is just the association I make in my head. Like this, how I said that with Captives, all their songs are great. I'm waiting for one to be fantastic. This is in that vein where all their songs are good. I'm waiting for one to be great. I feel like this band has all the elements to me, like with especially like the R&B style vocals, like that from like a band like Issues, right? It's something that I really enjoy. To me, something is missing here, and I can't put my finger on it. And like, I felt that same way when I listened to the Black EP, and I was hoping that they would maybe subvert those expectations on Cloud City. And what I got were obviously like Wilt and then the Wilt Cloud City version. I think that the Cloud City version is actually not as good as the original. That I got 5 good songs that listening through them, I was like, yeah, these are really good. I don't ever see myself coming back to this ever again. And I don't know what they could do to fix that for me at this point. Because like I said, I can't put my finger on what I want differently from this band. Like all the elements are there. I don't think that they necessarily still need to find their sound. I think they've definitely found their sound. A lot of people are enjoying this from what I've seen as far as feedback on this. So it's not like they need to refine it any further to expand their audience. Like, I think this is just one of those bands for me that may be stuck eternally in the purgatory of, I will listen to everything that comes out by them, but I don't expect to ever be blown away by anything. And like, I don't know why that is. And it actively bothers me because I should like this for all intents and purposes.
So,
I just don't know. I don't know why I don't.
I'm kind of different. It's like, I've listened to this only once and I'm like, I want to listen to this again. Like, it was good. I want to love it more. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I've missed anything in my listen to of this, because I listened to it twice, just to give it another chance, and I don't feel like I got any higher or lower on it from my second listen. It was just, yeah, this is good. So again, if I don't feel like I'm missing anything in terms of like the band's actual sound itself, I don't know why it would be that this doesn't click with me, but you know, it is what it is, because it's not like I hate it and I don't regret listening to it either time by any means. Again, like I mentioned with Captives earlier, a very strange endorsement to go listen to this. One of the few bands I can say that for whatever reason, it's not for me, but you should still definitely go check them out.
I'm glad that I can finally enjoy this band the way that I have wanted to.
I'm glad you can finally enjoy this band the way I want you to.
The Black EP really only had one song that stuck with me, and that was Yours for the Taking. And that had such a unique structure and sound that I wanted more of it, but the rest of the EP just didn't deliver. And this EP did what Black couldn't for me. So I'm like, without spoiling too much, when we were doing our awards episodes, like for Most Improved Artist, VRSTY was one of those that I had in consideration for the step up that they took from the Black EP into this. They were in that conversation of like, when I had like a handful of like 5 artists to pick from, who should it be? VRSTY was in that conversation for me. We haven't talked about the title track too much, Cloud City, which of the 3 non-singles which came out, Cloud City was probably my favorite, the one I've revisited the most. And I think it has a pretty nice little breakdown drop in it that I thoroughly enjoyed. It almost caught me off guard. Like, I wasn't expecting it, but like, it's pretty vibey, and I enjoyed it a lot. But that's basically all I want to say on this album. EP. We spent quite a bit of time here. I think we've said about as much as there could be said at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess that means we're moving on to EP number 3. We got Hawk and their EP Tolerance's Paradox.
Now, is this a
It's a side project
side project? Okay.
of Ricky Armelino from Iceman Kills, or This or the Apocalypse. I don't even remember what the name of that band is. Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
good.
because it's good. There is Mileage is on here, and there's a Rory Rodriguez. Mileage is from their 2019. Was it an EP?
No,
or was
just
it
a
just
I
single.
thought it was just a single.
It was
I thought
just a single.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
just single. Okay, I thought for some reason I thought they released.
This is
another
their first
EP.
like actual release, I think. Everything else they
Yeah, this
had
is
was just singles.
this is first actual EP. I thought it was good. Mileage is probably gonna be the one that still sticks in my playlist, like it's been since 2019. Even I wasn't too like I thought Counter Ops with Rory was all right.
You mean
Didn't stick with me.
Universes?
Or was it Oh, it was Universes. What? Sorry, I was reading the thing. Universes. I thought it was good, but it's probably not going to stick in my album for too long.
I have all 6 of these songs in my playlist right now, and all 6 of them are really good. I remember someone sent me Counter Ops back when it released. It was probably you.
I think we talked about it. I think we
don't think
talked
we
about it on
did.
the show.
I don't think we did.
I'm pretty sure we did.
I don't know.
I'm 90% sure we did.
Counter Ops was one in 2019. We talked about
No,
Alibi.
Did we? Okay. Yeah, maybe you're right.
But like,
Anyways.
I came into this with like not much, with like not too many expectations, but I went into this with like minimal expectations. I remember being sent Counter Ops, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. It didn't really click with me. I forget if I gave Mileage a listen as a single or not, but I gave this EP a listen, just full time through, and this was like one of the best EPs I heard all year. There's not a bad song here. Clever Motherfucker is my favorite song, which is the opening. And just the opening to that. Like, if there's a way to get you hooked into an album, like the way that Clever Motherfucker opens is such a perfect way to introduce the EP and what you're going to be getting from it.
That's what that says.
Yeah.
I thought that was just gibberish.
Nope, it's Clever Motherfucker.
I was reading that the whole time. This is so wrong.
So with Counter Ops, I was I hated it when it came out.
I can see that.
When I listened to it yesterday, I was like, it's not that bad. It's actually kind of good.
Yeah. Like, I remember when I listened to Counter Ops on first listen, I was like kind of on it, and then even just the second time I listened to it, it was like already growing on me. This is definitely an EP that like grows on you the more time you give it, and it grows fast. I already mentioned Clever Motherfucker a little bit, but King with No Survivors was another one that stuck with me. The chorus to that one, I think in general the choruses of all of these songs are really great. And unfortunately, in quite possibly a tragedy, the Rory Rodriguez feature is probably the least memorable song on this EP for me.
I would agree.
It's a shame, because it's Rory Rodriguez of all people, but I think Clever Motherfucker, Mileage, King with No Survivors, all 3 of those have more to offer. Alibi and Counter Ops I haven't given as much time to, but Universes was definitely kind of the odd one out for me.
I think it might be because we put our expectations too high because we saw the Rory Rodriguez feature.
You see our Rory Rodriguez feature, and you have the bar set so high that it's like, even just like a good song will disappoint. It like you just, as you said, like the bar is just set way too high with the Rory Rodriguez feature. Overall, like once again, just a fantastic EP. December really gave me so many amazing EPs. Like, my top EPs of the year was looking quite dry. Like, if I was to make my top 5 EPs of the year, without spoiling what my actual top 2 were in the episode, it would have been, like, the top 5 would have included Crossfaith and Solence. And that's how weak I thought EPs were this year. Just to leave it out there. But then, like, I think, like, all 3 of these that we have talked about
almost
so
went
far,
one episode without talking about them.
I'm sorry. We can move on.
I didn't even notice until you said it. I was like, wait.
I didn't notice that either, and then my brain clicked for a second. I was like, ah.
Well, like, seriously, like, that's how weak I thought EPs were this year. We're like, I was
This is our
even
New Year's
considering,
resolution.
I was even
New
considering
Year's
Solons in my top 5 EPs at one point. But then Hawk, Too Close to Touch, VRSTY, all 3 of those are going way up above Crossfaith and Solons. And it ain't no question. And even the next one we're going to be talking about, which I think is probably, I'm going to be carrying that one more so.
Yeah.
But December really delivered with the EPs, and I'm glad it did. Because I needed
to.
it. I needed it, yeah. There was definitely an EP drought for me through 2020. Even though I listened to way more EPs than I did in 2019, I listened to a lot less quality EPs in 2020. But December turned that all around, and Hawk was definitely a big part of that, so definitely a band I'm going to be keeping my eye out on. I don't know when they're going to be releasing new material next, because this is a side project, but I'm definitely excited to see what they have coming in the future, so. Let's move on then. Des Rocs is back with an EP. This is Our Life. And I'm just gonna get out of the way. Do either of you two have anything to say on it?
I listened to this like once and haven't gone back to it.
I didn't really enjoy it that much in my opinion. Not
Okay,
really
so-
my kind of music.
yeah,
I
that's fair.
didn't have a lot of time to go back to it.
Yeah, this is more of the alternative rock and roll that I'm more a fan of. And I must say, this is Des Rocs. This is his 3rd EP, and I must say this is probably my favorite of them. This is Our Life and Nothing Personal, I think, are the standouts, which were the 2 singles we had talked about previously. But then you get POS, which is a reference of Piece of Shit, which it says in the lyrics in the chorus. It's like a 2-minute song. It goes by super fast, but it's super fun, super energetic, very upbeat. Definitely my favorite of the 3 non-singles. Pieces and Suicide Romantics definitely quiet down a bit. And I'm not a huge fan of either of them personally. I think they're both solid, but nothing super special. And that's kind of the theme that I have with Des Rocs, where every EP is released, I like 3 of the 5 songs, and the 3 that I like are all really goddamn good, but the other 2 are just really underwhelming. And I think if we're talking about the 2 out of 5 that I don't like from the 3 EPs he's put out, Suicide Romantics and Pieces are probably the 2 best of the underwhelming ones that I've heard, in my opinion. He's definitely got a good thing going with the rock and roll style he's got going. And I think the best thing about this EP is that it doesn't have the 2 songs we talked about earlier this year in Wayne and I Know, which are 2 just standalone singles that are not part of any EP. But they are by far the 2 worst songs he has ever put out. So the fact that they are not on this EP was a pleasant surprise. Because I thought we were going to see a 5-track EP with This Is Our Life and Nothing Personal, and then Wayne and I Know. And then there was only going to be 1 new track. But then we get 3 new tracks, and Wayne and I Know aren't on here. And because of that, this is probably in my top 10 EPs of the year, up there with Hawk and VRSTY and Too Close to Touch. So, yeah, I pleasantly enjoyed this. Des Rocs is definitely an artist that I've been keeping my eye out since I discovered him, since I saw him live with Grandson. And I'm excited to see where he goes, because I'm pretty sure he mentioned that this was the final EP in his like trilogy or whatever, so he's actually moving on to his debut album after this, which I'm excited for. I feel like he might flourish in an album style more so than an EP. But given that you guys don't really have too much more to say, let's get on to the albums, and as I had already kind of referenced, we have Grandson with his debut album, Death of an Optimist.
I wanna be the change, I try to make my feelings vocal. He's in my head, he makes me sick, he makes me antisocial. I try to do my part, I vote, I sign all the petitions. He tells me that...
Jake, I think you like this.
Yeah! I don't think it's any secret that Grandson is like one of my favorite artists ever. I have enjoyed this man's material from the start. He has put out like maybe 2 bad songs ever. And this debut album is pretty much everything and anything I could have asked for from him from a debut album. I don't think it's his strongest material. My favorite songs of his are off of the Modern Tragedy EP series. But this album is incredible. It is one of the most well-crafted albums I heard all year. Not just in terms of, like, the songs are enjoyable. I think the story that this album is telling is one of the best. Just storytelling. You get the idea. The creative concept of this album is... It's the whole, like, optimist, pessimist kind of vibe, where it's, like, trying to be positive, but you have all the negative thoughts in your mind. And I have talked it to death. I mentioned it when we talked about We Did It as a single back in November. But this entire album just takes that whole concept and expands upon it so much. And I think that is, you see that the most clearly in the interlude to this album in the name of The Ballad of G and X, which is probably my favorite interlude of all time, and is probably my second favorite song of the non-singles. So this came with 4 singles, and then we got like 5 or 6. Actually, no, we got a lot. We got like 7 or 8 just songs on this album, and the interlude is the one that probably sticks out the most to me, which is not something you say every day. The Ballad of G and X has this energy to it that I don't know how to describe it, but it's dark and it's raw, kind of. And I fucking love it. It's perfect to put right in the middle of the album. And I never expected to like an interlude as much as I liked The Ballad of G and X. Outside of that, there's a bunch of other amazing songs. In Over My Head is great. Left Behind is great. World War III is probably it is my favorite song on this album that is not a single. It is... World War III showcases the potential that Grandson has as an artist. He is able to do so many styles so well, and World War III is just the perfect example of that. The way he's able to rap and make it sound so good, which is not something that he typically does in his music. But he just makes it work so well in World War III. And then you get to the end of the album, Pain Shopping, Drop Dead, Welcome to Paradise. I think the album ends on a little bit of a weaker note, but I still can't complain because I think they're all solid songs. Pain Shopping is probably the most underwhelming song on this album for me. It never really clicked for me. The idea behind that song is that we're all depressed because we can just get anything we want at the click of a button. We can just like go on Amazon, buy it now, it'll be here tomorrow. And I appreciate the message, but the song has just not really clicked with me too much. Whereas pretty much everything else on this album has clicked with me to some degree. I'm curious to see if either of you two have anything to say on it before I continue rambling on.
I don't, but do you think we're... Without going into the events that have happened in 2021 so far, do you think we're going to get a new Grandson single in January?
No.
Okay.
I feel we're definitely going to be getting more Grandson material in 2021 because the dude does not stop. He released an unreal amount of music. Like, not only did he just release the Death of an Optimist album last year, he released the Linkin Park cover of One Step Closer, which was my favorite cover of 2020. That's not something we talked about in our award show, but it was my favorite cover of 2020, like, by far. He released an acoustic EP at the beginning of the year when COVID broke out with a bunch of features on it. He featured on like 3 other songs, if like maybe even 4 other songs. The dude was nonstop grinding out new material last year, and it's just unreal. And to do all of that and then to release Death of an Optimist at the end of the year, just the cherry on top.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say.
I don't find myself re-listening to much of this album other than oh god, what's it called? We Did It.
Oh yeah.
Which has grown on me a little bit.
I like to see it. We Did It is, I'd say
that's how the seed starts, Jake.
Oh, no.
I think We Did It is probably the heaviest song on this album, so it doesn't entirely surprise me that it's the one that's kind of stuck with you the most at this point. But I think this album has something for everyone, I feel like. As I just mentioned, We Did It's probably the heaviest song. World War III has the rap elements. It's probably going to gear towards more of the hip-hop audience that Grandson has built up. Dirty is probably the most radio-ready song on this album. It's going to gear towards people that listen to pop. And there is so much variety and depth to this album that I think you can send this album to anyone and everyone is going to get something different out of it. And I just think that's a true testament to what Grandson has created with this album. I think I'm about ready to move on. I think I've said enough. Actually, yeah. I would want to mention more about In Over My Head and Left Behind, but I don't have too much more to say about them. They're both just really solid songs. So, I'm ready to move on. Whether I want to or not at this point, because next up on our list of albums to talk about, we have Hollywood Undead with their new album, New Empire Volume 2.
911, yeah, someone call the cops, 'cause this motherfucker here ain't never gonna stop. Everything I touch turns to gold now. I'm the dope man, so I'm dope now. You can call me.
I just have a question. Do you think we should mention why Derek had to leave, or not why, but that he did?
Let's not worry about it. I don't think it's really anyone's business.
Yeah. So Hollywood Undead, New Empire Volume 2. I want to start by saying this is Volume 2. So, is this better or worse than Volume 1?
I don't know. I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
This is so sad.
So, the thing with Hollywood Undead is they have like a sound that I recognize with them, and they're a band that people I know have listened to them for a while, but
they have been around for a while, so yeah,
they have been for a while, and I've wanted to get into them, but I just haven't.
I think it's hard to get into them with this album, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think I've beaten this dead horse on this podcast, but I like their old material much better than the new stuff they've been putting out.
I think that Volume 1 was the better album, not by a lot. I think it had, of the material Hollywood Undead released in 2020, Volume 1 had the weakest, but it also had the strongest, whereas Volume 2 is kind of just underwhelming across the board for me. Outside of like a couple songs where I think Gonna Be Okay, which we talked about in November, was pretty solid. And then Idol, which we talked about way back, I don't even remember when. But Idol was kind of solid. And then the full album comes out, and it's like, there's really just not too much to offer. When Volume 1 came out, we had, I think it was, which song featured Kellen Quinn? I think it was Second Chances or something like that. And
doesn't say on Spotify.
Yeah. There were at least two songs from that, like 2 or 3 songs that I actually like thoroughly enjoyed off of that one, whereas Volume 2 is just kind of underwhelming across the board, and the songs that I pick out as my favorites are just not great, and songs that I don't revisit all too much. I also feel like a part of me not appreciating this album as much is that it released coinciding with Grandson, which definitely took away a lot of my time in early December, to say the least. But yeah, Hollywood Undead are a band that I don't expect greatness from at this point. I just expect to get the occasional song that I can enjoy for a week or so, and then maybe revisit it every once in a while. But I just expect to get like a couple of okay songs to get me through the week from this band, and I think Volume 1 did that better than Volume 2. There's not a whole lot worth going back to here, so. Let's move on to something that, Justin, you can actually talk about, shall we?
Hey! I like that.
Let's talk about American Dream Machine and their debut album, Dead Hearts. been like just talking nonstop for like 10 minutes now. So please do your gushing. I need to drink some water and let my mouth recover.
It was the order of things. It's fine. So, American Dream Machines. This is a band I've been listening to for a while. I found them, I believe, through Still Breathing. I can't remember. But heard it. They were putting out an album this year. It literally came out the day before we recorded the awards podcast, so I had to quickly listen to this quite a bit, and I like it. It's hard rock. There's a good mix of the kind of hard rock nature mixed in with rock, and there's also like some harsher sides with like Back to Life and Dead have some harsher vocals into it. The one I really didn't put on my list was like Seraphim. That's it. Like everything else, like I'm pretty sure there's like 4 songs from this album I have on my playlist right now that I would just turn at any point just because I enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised by this album. I was like pleasantly surprised by it when I gave it a listen.
Mind you, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's not going to shake up the hard rock genre at all.
No. But it's definitely like for a debut album, this is quality.
This is a debut album. I don't even think they have. I think this is literally their first material in terms of like an album
Which
or
is
an
pretty
EP.
impressive.
Is very impressive. I don't even know if they have a previous project before this.
Yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I enjoyed Bad News and Tomorrow quite a bit. Those are the 2 songs that probably stick out to me the most. The one thing that I noticed about this band was that they know how to write a good chorus really well, especially in the vein of Bad News. The chorus in that is super memorable, in my opinion.
Dead's is pretty good as well.
Yeah, Dead hasn't stuck to me too much, but yeah, I would agree with that.
Like that repeating, like dead, dead.
Mm-hmm. It gets stuck in your head. Dead.
It does, yes.
Back to Life was also pretty solid. In a similar vein, I thought that Seraphim was a little underwhelming. I still added it to my playlist. I've revisited it a handful of times. The 2 songs that I was just never really able to get into, though, were Virginia and Trapped Under You.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get into Virginia either. But Trapped Under You, I went back to probably latter half of December and found new appreciation for it. I haven't gone back to it in the last week, but I have enjoyed it more. I should also mention the singles for this album were Still Breathing, Dead, New Apocalypse, and Bad News. Mm-hmm. Bad News, their first ever song released under this project. So, a strong showing for a new band.
If you're looking for just like some quality hard rock, that's what you're gonna get out of American Dream Machine.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna get anything different. Like I don't think there's a lot of different here to really shake up someone's playlist, but there's some really good catchy songs here with some good rhythms here and there. If you like hard rock, you're definitely gonna enjoy it. You're not gonna walk away thinking it was think your time was wasted or anything, but you're not gonna get anything different.
Yeah, I think that just about wraps it up. Unless
that's all I got.
Last comments, Jacob, you have anything to say here?
I didn't get a chance to listen to this one.
Fair enough, yeah. So this might be our shortest episode ever, by the looks of it. Which I think is surprising because I think we have definitely talked about months that were more underwhelming before. Mm-hmm. But I guess there weren't as many singles. So I guess that's a big part of it.
This had more songs than our November recap, and I'm pretty sure our November recap hit almost like 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much else to say about the whole month of December. There was a lot of good material to come out to close out 2020.
Right.
We might not have talked about it as long, but that does not mean the quality wasn't there, and I really want to reiterate that for sure.
And there's a lot of new coming. Like
there's a lot
already
in 2021 for sure.
Already 2021 is looking off to a really good start.
Yeah. So now that we're into the closing thoughts, just a friendly reminder, you can go follow us over at Hivemind Radio _ on Instagram and Twitter to get updates on this podcast here. And when my radio show returns next month, in February at some point, most likely. So that's kind of about all I have to say, really.
We also stream these on Twitch.
That is true.
Twitch.tv/TobyCon with an extra N on the end.
Give that a follow as well.
Also, a quick thank you to those that have already watched the award shows. Those have hit stupid numbers since we released them.
We broke 100 views in 3 days on the Top 10 Albums episode, so shout outs to everyone that gave that a chance. I don't know if many people are going to make it this far into this episode, to be honest, but I do want to make it known that like those numbers were crazy to see how fast it was like getting views and stuff like that.
Those award shows are our best episodes too.
Yeah,
yeah. It's because there's instead of just talking about what happened in the month, we're actually talking about stuff we find interesting and breaking down just a lot of what
the
we
best
enjoyed.
Of the year. It's the best of the year, so
it is the best of the year, and if you stick around with us after that, I'm sure you'll continue to enjoy us.
Yeah, we like to think we're fun and funny. Sometimes
we try. Sometimes it falls flat, like almost half of our transitions.
But that's where the comedy is, though.
Man, I really do love comedy. I'm pretty sure that's gonna close it out for this one, though.
Yeah, definitely a shorter episode. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you stick around for more. January is looking to be quite the month to start off the year 2021. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in our 2021 recaps. This is the final 2020 recap. Better things are ahead for us.
Finally over. Well, Jake, I'd like to think that.
Is it 2021 or is it just 2020.2?
I really hope that this is just how the 2020s are just gonna be. It's just do-overs of 2020 at this point.
We're into like day 370, 380 of 2020 at this point.
Oh my god, no.
That's gonna about sum it up for this episode.
Have a good one, guys.
Yep.